Most people think mosquitoes choose a garden randomly. They don't. They're reading the environment, the stillness of the air, the dampness near shaded corners, and the absence of certain scents that make a space feel to them like somewhere to avoid. Here's what's strange about what a garden can quietly become. Mint is one of the most scent-dense plants you can grow, and almost nobody uses it in a way that actually does anything. Its oils release most strongly the moment it's touched or disturbed. Brush past it on the way to a seating area, and the air around you changes almost immediately. After watering, that scent becomes even more concentrated, something between fresh and sharp that carries further than most people expect. That scent is pleasant to most people. To mosquitoes, it registers very differently. The most important practical detail: mint spreads aggressively. Left in open ground, it will take over within a season. Containers are almost always the better choice, placed near doorways, along pathways, or beside seating areas where people naturally pass close to them. And there's a quiet bonus. A few leaves crushed into hot water on a warm evening is something worth having regardless of anything else. Some gardeners dry bundles through summer for use in winter. It earns its place more than once. Lavender works differently. Its scent doesn't release sharply from touch alone. It builds slowly through heat. On a warm afternoon when the sun has been on it for several hours, lavender produces something unmistakable. A deep, calm, aromatic quality that carries across a wide area without ever feeling sharp or aggressive. There's a strange quality to a lavender border at sunset. The warmth of the day still held in the soil, the scent settling rather than lifting, the whole area feeling noticeably different from anywhere else in the garden. Mosquitoes find that environment strongly unattractive. The same quality that makes lavender so calming for people makes it uncomfortable for them. Placement matters. Full sun and dry, well-drained soil are essential. Lavender genuinely struggles in damp shaded spots, which means open sunny borders and containers in warm exposed areas are where they perform best. Dried bundles carry that scent indoors for months. Many people grow it as much for the home as for the garden itself. This one surprises most people. Basil looks culinary. It feels like something from a kitchen windowsill, not something that changes the environment of a garden border. That assumption is worth reconsidering. Basil carries some of the strongest aromatic oils of any herb that grows this easily, and unlike lavender or rosemary, those oils are active constantly, not just when heat builds or the plant is disturbed. Near a patio, near an open window, in a container close to where people sit in the evening, it quietly changes the scent character of the immediate area around it. It also harvests constantly through the season. The more you take, the more it produces. A basil plant near the seating area earns its place in the kitchen as much as in the garden, all summer long. Worth pausing here for a moment. The goal with all of these plants isn't to overpower the garden with scent. It's something quieter, shifting the environment mosquitoes experience when they move through the space, layering aromatic conditions across the areas people use most, until the atmosphere itself becomes somewhere they naturally avoid. Some gardeners notice it first in heavily planted herb corners, a zone that simply feels different during evening hours. Less activity, more stillness of a different kind. That's the system starting to work. Rosemary is a Mediterranean plant, and it behaves like one. Dry soil, full sun, warm conditions. In those environments, it develops dense resinous oils that release most strongly when the plant is disturbed or trimmed. Brushing your hand along the top of a rosemary bush on a warm afternoon produces a surprisingly powerful scent. Woody, sharp, and immediately present in the air. What makes rosemary distinct from the other plants here is persistence. That scent doesn't disappear in seconds. It stays in the air, carried by whatever movement passes through. A breeze, a person walking by, the shift in temperature as evening arrives. Along garden pathways, near seating areas, and at the edges of a patio, rosemary creates a lasting aromatic presence rather than a passing one. Trimmings dry well and carry strong flavor into the kitchen throughout the whole year. One of those plants that keeps giving long after the season ends. Marigolds look warm. There's something visually generous about them. The color, the density of the flowers, the way they fill borders without demanding much attention. But up close, the scent is surprisingly sharp. Not unpleasant to most people, but distinct and clearly noticeable to insects navigating primarily by smell. Along garden borders, layered between other aromatic plants in containers near seating areas, marigolds add both visual depth and a different scent register to the environment. That variety matters. A garden with only one aromatic note creates a simpler atmosphere than one where several different scent layers overlap and move together. Most people completely overlook this one. Catnip is almost entirely associated with cats, which is exactly why it's worth mentioning here. The aromatic compounds it produces are remarkably strong, and the scent it releases is distinctive in a way that mosquitoes find genuinely uninviting. It grows easily, needs very little attention, and produces aromatic foliage all season. Tucked into borders or near pathways, it adds a quiet layer to the garden's scent environment that most visitors would never think to identify. It also never fails to get a reaction from anyone who keeps cats. Worth planning around accordingly. Here's what most people miss, even after choosing the right plants. A single aromatic plant does something. A group of them, layered across the spaces people use most, does something far more significant. When mint, rosemary, lavender, and basil grow near each other, their scents don't simply add together. They create an overlapping aromatic environment, present in the air constantly, activated by heat, released by movement, and carried by any breeze that passes through, during warm evenings especially, when the day's heat is still rising from the soil and the air begins to settle. That layered scent becomes something almost tangible. Mosquitoes navigate by scent. An environment saturated with complex shifting aromatic signals becomes genuinely difficult for them to move through comfortably. This is the hidden system. Not individual plants in isolation, but a garden whose atmosphere quietly does the work all season long. The goal was never to fight mosquitoes. A garden that fights rarely wins that way. But a garden that quietly shifts its own atmosphere, layering scent through its borders, activating oils through heat and movement, creating conditions mosquitoes find naturally uncomfortable. That garden does something more lasting. It stops being a space you defend. It becomes a space that simply doesn't appeal to them. And perhaps that's the quieter realization underneath all of this, that the most effective gardens aren't the ones that repel anything aggressively. They're the ones that have become, through careful planting and patience, somewhere that feels wrong to the things you'd rather not share your evenings with. The right plants, placed thoughtfully, change more than the scent. They change what the garden is. It stops being a space you defend